You know, in the Colnago Y1 RS video, when I said aero bikes are so back. Well, hot on the heels of one new Tour de France aero race machine, we have another. This one is from Van Rysel and it has a very similar shape to the standard RCR that we saw last time we went to a cold car park in Lille. Unlike the Colnago though, the RCR-F is a lot less out there. It still comes with a pretty tasty aero claim, which we'll get right into because we sent Stan off to what looks like an equally cold football stadium to get the goss. Now if you want us to make a video aero testing a bunch of the top end aero bikes, then like this video and I will try my very best to make that happen. There are two main claims being made right now about the bike, but I must stress that we don't have the full picture yet. That'll likely come when the bike is properly launched around the Spring Classics, but Stan was able to get some details. The first claim is that this is 13 watts faster than the RCR. Now, we don't have any details on what speeds the bike was designed to be tested at, nor the yaw angles this figure relates to. But there is something telling in what Stan was told, which could hint at how this figure came to be. Van Riesel's product manager for race bikes, Jeremy Deboeuf, said that when Van Riesel developed the RCR, the first thing that they did was to simulate most of the World Tour races to check whether an aero light bike or an aero bike would be the best. Now, based on this study, they identified that on some specific courses, an aero light bike was just not enough, and especially on flatter stages when the speed is more above 45 kilometers per hour. So that's our first clue. If Van Rysel is aiming this at flatter, faster races, well, they're probably not going to be testing this at 30 kilometers per hour. It probably won't surprise you, but Van Rysel believes an aero bike is beneficial for courses with less than 1,500 meters of elevation per 100 kilometers, and classics such as Paris-Roubaix or the Tour of Flanders. Now remember, those races in 2024 had average speeds of about 50 and 45 kilometers per hour respectively. And that's bonkers fast. Deboeuf says that the first step after that study was to collaborate with Swisside to do some good old-fashioned CFD magic. And from that, Deboeuf said that they 3D printed around 15 frames, forks and cockpits to go into the wind tunnel. Now, one of the main points of focus was where the seat stays join the seat tube. The other focus was the head tube of the bike. Now, this is deeper than the RCR and we can see significant shaping to kind of mold airflow from the fork into the down tube. In fact, they said that the cockpit was extended back at the steerer clamp to save a watt. The second claim being made is that the front of the bike is 7% stiffer than the RCR. Now again, we have no test data to look at, but Van Rysel did say that the prototype that we saw at the Tour de France was given to sprinter Sam Bennett for feedback. Maybe the stiffer front end is something that the riders asked for. We'll probably hear more about that in the spring. Now, speaking of the spring, the bike has room for 33mm tyres, so in theory, it's ready for the cobbles. Now, given aero bikes have won the last few editions of Roubaix, I'd bet that this would be in use. Oh, and finally, just for clarity, Van Rysel says the RCR-F is just a bit heavier. Deboeuf says that a build with Dura Ace and Swisside 65mm wheels, well, that weighs around 7.5 kilos. Let me know if you think the same, but I'm really hoping for a revival of dedicated aero race bikes in 2025 because the UCI's 2021 frame design rule changes, well, they seem to be bearing fruit. The old 3-to-1 design rule basically pushed brands into this lightweight meets sort of aero design, and I think some were pretty happy to be pushed that way. It is, after all, quite easy to sell a bike that is both fast and light. We did have some brands continue to fly the aero flag. Look at the Scott foil, for example. Deep tubes everywhere and all of the wattage savings you could ever want. It even took Romain Bardet to the win of Stage 1 at this year's Tour. So, following this new Van Rysel and the Colnago Y1 RS, I really hope that there will be more brands bringing out full-fat aero race bikes in 2025. But which brands do you think will be next? Anyone want a return of the Venge?